صراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Amen. We give thanks to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We glorify and we adore him. We bear witness no one worthy to be worshipped except Allah. And our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a slave and the messenger of Allah. May the peace of Almighty Allah be upon him, is also his disciples, and whoever follow the right way from now on unto the day of judgment. I'm greeting all the brothers and sisters in Islam that we are watching us, and those of us that we are coming to join, inshallah, with the best of the greeting, which inshallah we shall all be saying it to each other in the garden of paradise by saying assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi.
We welcome our father again. This has been like 3 years now in a row. So since the pandemic, and we have been doing this virtually. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Tí Ọlọ́run bá dẹ́mi tí wọn náà sí tó dẹ́mi tí wa náà sí. Tọ́lọ́run tí ní ká tún pàdé ní ọdún yìí. Ní orúkọ àwọn bàbá wa àgbà, bàbá wa Fadila Sheikh Yusuf Jimoh Lálẹ́yẹ. Àwọn báyìí mọ̀mọ́ àgbà ọlọ́mọsá àjárí wọn pé afọlá wọn láti gbogbo àwọn mission board yòókù náà. Àwọn elétò, there's the president Muhammadu Taofik Abiodun Ali, the board of trustee Alhaji Musa Abdullahi Ogefo àti gbogbo àwọn tọ́jọ́ ń ṣèjọba. Tó dórí àwọn ìyá wa lásàlátù, ìyá àdínì, ìyá súnà, aṣáájú àdínì, agbẹ́sìngà àdínì, ajíjọlá ànábì àdínì, and so on and so forth. Gbogbo náà ni wọ́n ń wẹ́kọ̀mù yín tí wọ́n tún kí yín ní ọdún yìí pé kí Ọlọ́run Elédùmarè kí ó tún bá lọ́rẹ̀ mí yín, Ọlọ́run kó bá wà pẹ̀lú yín. Gbẹ̀yìn ọmọ ìyá wa nínú ẹ̀sìn, gbogbo náà la mọ nǹkan tí wọ́n fẹ́ bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ lórílẹ̀-èdè. Kí ni nǹkan tí àwa mùsùlùmí mọ̀ táwọn ẹlẹ́sìn mi ò mọ̀? Kí ni nǹkan tá a ní táwọn ò ní? Yóò jẹ́ kọ́mọ̀ wípé ta gbé dání góòlù ni, a ní láti mọ. Sorry for the interruption. Okay. I don't know what happened. Inshallah. Okay, sorry for the interruption. So inshallah, gbogbo náà ni a mọ nǹkan tó ń bára sọ̀rọ̀ lórílẹ̀ ní agbára Ọlọ́run torí àsìkò a rí pé almost half of the time ló ti lọ yìí pẹ̀lú ògo Ọlọ́run. A yíd fún àwọn bàbá lájẹ́ kí wọ́n bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ tí gbogbo wa ń retí lénìí inshallah bi quratillah. Lórúkọ àwọn bàbá wa lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí akínyín ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaba bikum.
Thank you very much, everybody. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Bismillahil ladzi la yadurru ma ismihi shay'un fil ard wa la fis sama' wa huwa samiul alim. We indeed grateful to Almighty Allah, who has no predecessors nor successors. To him belong the dominions of the heavens and the earth. And whether we like it or not, to him is the final return. I have to extend salutation to all of you yonder. And I really appreciate the affection that continues to grow from strength to strength. And without wasting time, I greet our father, and starting from him, all the officials, our mothers over there, and the respective brothers and sisters too. May Allah continue to abide with each and every one of you. Once more, in the traditional greeting of Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Without wasting time, the topic of our discussion is Muslims know what others don't know. Let us make some clarification. Muslims know what others don't know. I do not say Muslims are aware of what others are not aware for. You see, there is a very active word there, know. And knowledge is a derivative of a know. Muslims know what others don't know. Many verses of the Quran provoke reflection and instigate meditation. A Muslim is not expected to be an ignoramus. A Muslim should know his earnings. And so, when we are talking along the line of Muslims know what others don't know, why are we discussing this topic? We are discussing it because we want Muslims to appreciate why they are in Islam and why they should remain in the fold of Islam no matter what happens. Reality on ground, common observation, reveal that many of us Muslims, we are Muslim by chance, not by choice. Among those of us who are Muslims, the quantity is the majority. And so we want to utilize the instrumentality of this topic. Muslims know what others don't know, to crystallize our conviction that Islam is divine, it is not the sign. And when we say Islam is divine, it is not the sign, it then means that it is the only way to salvation. And I'm going to discuss this particular topic based on what is contained in Quran chapter 16, verse 125, when Allah says, invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and sound reasoning. And again, along the line of what is contained in Quran chapter 12, verse 108, when Allah says, invite to the way of your Lord based on empirical facts. And some of the empirical facts I'm going to unleash on respective basis. Muslims know what others don't know. Knowledge is very, very important when you are talking of Islam. Knowledge acquisition, knowledge application. At a time, nobody will ever imagine that there will be a place like a China, that technological advancement will be as great and as progressive as it is in China. The Prophet of Islam, may the peace and benedictions of Allah continue to abide with him, made a landmark remark. Seek knowledge, even if you have to go as far as China. Why did the Prophet use China as an example? And we all know what China typifies when you are talking along the line of technological advancement today. Islam is about acquisition and application of knowledge. And like I said, I've been issue, so many verses of the Quran provoke reflection, instigate meditation. One of such verses is Quran chapter 3, verse 190. When Allah says, Inna fi khalqi samawati wal ard wa tilafi al-layli wan nahar la ayatin li ulil albab alladhina yadhkuruna Allaha qiyaman wa qu'udan wa ala junubihim wa yatafakkaruna fi khalqi samawati wal ard rabbana ma khalaqta hadha batila subhanaka faqina adhaban. Meaning, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, the alternations of the day and the night, and this sign for those who reflect. Reflection is key here. And the first 5 verses of the Quran to be revealed, when you are talking along the line of potency and importance of knowledge, acquisition, and application, these 5 verses of the Quran that were first to be revealed spoke on the essence of knowledge. Ikra, bismi rabbi, alladhi khalaqa, khalaqa al-insan min alaq, ikra wa rabbuka al-akram, alladhi alama bil qalam, alama al-insan ma lam ya'lam. The word read there can be elasticized. The word read there, if and when it is elasticized, it can incorporate and encapsulate, read, decide, evaluate, explore, assess, and all these are within the purview of the word read, which means that a Muslim should be inherently reflective. And in Quran chapter 20, verse 140, Allah enjoins Muslims to pray for incremental knowledge. Rabbi zidini wakuli, Rabbi zidini ilma. Oh Allah, increase me in knowledge. And when you want to talk along the line of Muslims know what others don't know, we want to examine the contribution of Muslims to knowledge. And as a departure point, let me quote a popular French historian. His name is Gustay Le Bon. Gustay, Gustay, Le Bon. He did say, and I want to quote verbatim. At an epoch when the rest of Europe was plunged in darkest barbarism, Baghdad and Cordoba, the 2 great cities where Islam sway, were centers of civilization, which illumined the whole world with the light of their brilliance. When you're talking along the line of Muslims knowing what others don't know, we know that when you are talking along the line of a citadel of learning, citadel of research, it is the university. The heritage of Islam, one of the foremost heritage of Islam, is that the first university to be established in the whole world was established by Muslims, and that is the University of Cordoba in ancient Spain. And offshoot of the University of Cordoba in ancient Spain, and three other universities. Three other universities, oldest university, they are contemporary age, they are contemporary in reputation. And this university are Al-Azhar University, which was established in a mosque in 970 CE in Cairo. And again, we have Qarawiyun University in Morocco. Then Saitunia University in Tunis, that is Tunisia. And when you are talking along the line of scientific research today, which is the basis for science for technological advancement, science took its root from Islam. To prove this beyond reasonable doubt, what we know as a chemistry today in Islamic terminology is called al-Kaimiyya. What is known as physics today in Islamic terminology is called al-Fisiyah. And what is known as algebra today is in Islamic terminology known as algebra. And when you are talking along the line of legacy of Islam to knowledge acquisition, knowledge application, zero, the introduction, the invention of zero and its introduction into a numerical system was undertaken by Muslims. Before that particular time, medieval Europe used to depend on Roman figure. And when you are talking along the line of Roman figure is built and sustained on letters. 7 letters are involved: I, V, X, L, C, D, M. And that makes calculation to be very, very cumbersome. And particularly, multiplication became a very big problem. Calculation became very, very tedious. And when you are talking along the line of arithmetic, only people who have plenty of time were involved in arithmetical calculation. Islam, through Muslims, now introduced what we call zero. And you now have decimal system, which is known and called Arabic numeral. Anybody who wants to involve in any form of calculation today, based on the emanation of that name, Arabic numeral, must of necessity Arabicalize his or her calculation. If anybody de-Arabicalizes his or her calculation, that person will lead himself or herself to miscalculation. And in a pragmatic way, while we were in primary school, we were taught HTU, 110 units. If you want to do simple addition, like 15 plus 15, 5 will be written under U, 1 will be written under T, and the second 15 at the bottom will be similarly written, and we now underline. And when we want to start the calculation, how do we start the calculation? We start from right to left, because Arabic writing is from right to left. 5 plus 5 we say 0, like we are then taught, keeping 1. 1 plus 1, 2, plus the one that is being kept is now 30. So when you are talking at the line, along the line of calculation, Islam, through the introduction of a decimal system, 0 by Muslim, made calculation, made it easy. For example, if anybody wants to write a 1948, you just need the 4 figures. Whereas in the Roman numeral, when you want to write 1948, 11 letters will have to be involved, and it makes the whole thing cumbersome. Now, when we are talking on the line of it, Muslims know what others don't know. The Quran of the Muslim is ahead of its time. The Quran has answers to questions which are not even arisen at the time of its revelation. Let me now do a rundown of respective scientific information that are contained in the Quran. At the time, there was nothing like science, let alone scientists, to show and prove before just reasonable doubt that Muslims know what others don't know, indeed and in fact. In the Quran chapter 21 verse 30, Allah says, it's talking of aquatic origin of all living things. Allah says, I have created everything from water. And today, when you examine the component of typical human being, more than 75% of our body constituent is made of water. As we are fasting, Muslims, we are now fasting. The most important thing to a fasting Muslim is water. Water is very, very important to human existence. And the Quran has established that one via what is contained in Quran chapter 21, verse 30. Muslims know what others don't know. A Muslim does not have to be a scientist to know that everything has aquatic origin. Again, progressing further along the line of scientific information in the Quran, we have Quran chapter 51, verse 47, wherein Allah says it's a declarative statement. A declarative statement that is constructed and cannot be disconstructed or convoluted. Allah says therein, Quran chapter 51, verse 47. They have made the art in a way that it will continue to expand. Scientists today, statement that was made in 7th century, scientists today are now affirming the authenticity and the truism of this Quranic declaration. Going further down the line, scientific information which make Muslims to know what others don't know, and which prove beyond doubt that Islam is divine, it is not design. We go to Quran chapter 57, verse 25, wherein Allah made another landmark declaration. He said, we have sent down iron from heaven. Scientists today now confirm that this solar system will not allow the formation of iron on Earth here. At the time this particular declaration was made, there was nothing like science nor scientists. Now that we have science, now that we have scientists, they are affirming the tracing of this fact. Come to astrology. In the Holy Quran, chapter 36, verse 40, popularly known as Surah Yasin, Allah says, La Shamshu, Yambagila, Antudukale Common, Wala Laidu Sabikunha, Wakulum fi Falakin Yasbaun. Meaning, it is not for the sun to overtake the moon, nor for the moon to overtake the sun. Each of them moves in his own orbit. Muslims, we don't have to study astrology to know this, because this is contained in our Quran. And this is why we say Muslims know what others don't know. Another interesting information, scientific information in the Quran, which proves beyond doubt that Muslims do know what others don't know, is contained in Quran chapter 75, verse 1 to 4, wherein Allah says, does man think that we can't assemble his bones? Nay, we are able to put together in perfect order the very tips of his fingers. Those who are doubting resurrection, Allah is saying that the easiest thing for him to do, one of the easiest things for him to do, is to resurrect each and every one of us with a bodily form. And he's saying that even the fingers will be intact. Now today, we know that when you are talking of documentation, if you want to authenticate any documentation, fingerprint becomes very, very important. And the fingerprints of every human being is distinct. Even if you have twins, if you have triplets, despite the fact that they were born by the same mother and father, they were born on the same day, in the same place, their fingerprints will not be the same. Again, even if anybody is afflicted by any form of disease or sickness, the fingerprint will remain intact. Even if anybody does anything like a plastic surgery or anything that changes his or appearance, the fingerprint will also remain the same. Well, to prove what I am saying beyond reasonable doubt, this is one of the leading newspapers in Nigeria. This is the Nation newspaper, Monday, November 2, 2020. One of the leading commercial banks in Nigeria, Zenith Bank, is doing advertisement, and it's a full-page advertisement. Forget your card, forgot your card, use your fingerprint. You can perform cash withdrawals of up to 100,000 with your fingerprint and select Zenith Bank ATM terminals across the country. Try today. The Quran has established the credibility, the authenticity of fingerprint before the emergence of a fingerprint experts that we now have today. And this is showing that the Muslims, we know what others don't know. Again, the understanding of the office of the Quran will be evolving on daily basis from time to time. At a time, our forefathers in Islam were reading this verse of the Quran, Quran chapter 55, verse 33. They didn't understand the explicit meaning. They only understood the implicit meaning. What is the verse? Allah says, therein, O you assemblies of jinns and men, if you have the power to penetrate the space, go, but you will not be able to go illa bisunitod. At that particular time, implements that could make this particular thing possible, like engine, like rocket, and so many other tools that could have made this one possible were not conceivable nor obtainable. Yet the Quran has said that. Happily, even in your Maryland there, I had the opportunity of being in Maryland in 2016, and I was taken to Space Museum. In the Space Museum, I saw how the invention of an aircraft started and how it has been progressing. This has been predicted in the Quran, Quran chapter 55, verse 33. Again, along the line of Muslims knowing what others don't know. If anybody says that there's salvation anywhere, like some people who normally say that they're Muslims, if you are a Muslim, you are not sure of your salvation because Islam is divine with more proofs. Because Islam is divine, we know that our salvation as Muslim is certain because we are on the right course. In the Quran chapter 34, verse 12, Allah is addressing our Prophet Sulaiman. He says, he has been given power over the wind to make a man's journey in the morning and a man's journey in the evening. And this is suggesting that later in future, wind technology will be used for generation of power and in some other ways. This has been in the Quran at the time that I was talking like science, not scientists. This is why I said the Muslims know what others don't know. Again, when you are talking along the line of the UNO, United Nations Organization, they have taken so many things from Islam. Warfare generally. The provision of Islam is that a Muslim should not be aggressive. Muslim as an entity or as a collectivity, they must not be aggressive. And Muslims should not fight aggressive war. And even when Muslims are involved in any form of war, they should not be excessive. This is the essence of what is contained in Quran chapter 2, verse 190, wherein Allah says, وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُعْتَدِينَ. And fight in the cause of Allah, those who fight you. But do not transgress the limit, for Allah loves not the transgressors. Check and balances are there. In warfare situation today, UNO has even stipulated some check and balances. These check and balances are largely drawn from what is contained in the Quran. While fighting in the cause of Allah, the Quran says that should be check and balances. Now, if anybody gets a copy of that voluminous translation of Quran by Yusuf Ali, just read the exegesis, the interpretation as footnote of this Quran chapter 2, verse 190. The check and balances are enunciated there. One of the check and balances is that when Muslims have to fight in self-defense, the fight must not be totalitarian. When the enemy surrender, the Muslims should not fight again. Again, when they are fighting, women should not be attacked, children should not be killed. Women that are to be attacked are women who behave like typical Amazons of the army, who are combatants. And you should not destroy the plantation of those you are fighting with. Today, the UNO is a warning against use of a chemical weapon, another weapon of a mass destruction. This is taken from the Quran. Again, when we are talking along the line of scientific information in the Quran, so many of you, which confirm that Muslims do know what others don't know. In the Quran chapter 2, verse 233, Allah is admonition nursing mothers to breastfeed their respective children for not less than 2 years if they want to complete the term. The energy and the nutrients which children require are largely drawn from breast milk. Today, when anybody goes to the hospital, whether you find a Dr. David there, or you find a Dr. Dawood there, or you say Dr. Richard or Dr. Ramat there, regardless of the faith of that particular person, the doctor, the advice he will give to a nursing mother is to do exclusive breastfeeding for the child, for not just for the first 6 months, before some other things will be used as a complement. And there are so many advantages derivable from exclusive breastfeeding. Part of this advantages is that it increases the intelligence quotient of the children. It protects the children from epidemic diseases. Again, it increases the affection between the mother and the child, and so many other advantages. And today in Nigeria, apart from maternity leave, now some governments in Nigeria, like Lagos State government and Oyo State government, they have even considered and legislated that there should now be paternity leave, so that when a nursing mother is breastfeeding the child, the father will also be around. This has been contained in the Quran. At the time, there was something like science, not scientists. Again, when we say that Muslims know what others don't know, we are not just making, these are not fantasies being recreated to become a reality. These are existential facts. In the Holy Quran, chapter 2, verse 222, Allah says there and again, they ask you, O Muhammad, about women who are menstruating. Tell them that when women are menstruating, their husband should not move near them, nor there should not be anything like a sexual intercourse. Why? Scientists today, they have discovered that during menses, the word demonstration is a hurt and a pollution. So medics say sexual activity with a woman who is menstruating is not safe and is unhygienic for the man and the woman. There is a risk of the man and the woman contacting HIV and AIDS. And even if the woman does not contact AIDS, the chances of AIDS entering her private parts are higher, and so there will be infertility. The menstrual blood is a good medium for germs to flourish. This is why Islam has said that women who are menstruating, there should be nothing like a sexual intercourse with them. Again, in the Holy Quran, talking along the line of a documentation contract, that is contained in Quran chapter 2, verse 282. It is the longest verse of the Quran. Just ask a lawyer, whether the lawyer is a Muslim or a non-Muslim, ask the lawyer to talk to you on the ethics of documentation, on the law of evidence, and so many things will be drawn from this longest verse of the Quran. Muslims know what others don't know. And it then means that Islam will continue to flourish. I always say, Islam even flourishes better in enlightened communities. And this is why today, Islam has become and remained the fastest growing religion in the world. See the population of India and China. Despite the fact that no religion in the world can be said to control the number of people that China and India control through Hinduism and Buddhism, you will see that the religion is limited to that particular place, whereas Islam is dynamic. In the Europe today and America, Islam is growing geometrically because Islam flourishes better in enlightened communities. Again, when you are talking the line of Islam, Muslims knowing what others don't know. Some non-Muslims, when they want to put across to us penalty-like questions as Muslims, they now say, Jesus performed so many miracles. What miracle did your Muhammad, what did he perform? And those say to them, the miracle of the Prophet of Islam is a miracle of knowledge. And when you are talking of knowledge, every advancement on earth, every considerable and inconsiderable advancement is linkable to knowledge. Progressing further along the line of Muslims know what others don't know. Let's go to Quran chapter 4, verse 56. The Prophet of Islam was Olalekan. These are information that are beyond the desert. Like I said the other time, Quran chapter 21, verse 30, that everything has aquatic origin. Somebody from the desert where there is no water, making this a landmark remark, you will see that it is beyond the ordinary. And beyond the ordinary because Islam is divine and the Quran has a divine origin. In the Holy Quran, chapter 4, verse 82, Allah says, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ وَلَوْ كَانَ مِنْ غَيْرِ اللَّهِ لَوَجَدُوا فِيهِ اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا. Do not ponder, do not reflect on the Quran. If the Quran were to be of Imam origin, you have found therein a lot of discrepancies. So in the Holy Quran, chapter 4, verse 56, Allah is talking along the line of those who will have to be punished, banished to hell eternally. And he said, by the time the flesh of their bone are getting born, the other it will be replaced by fresh one. Why? Because when the flesh is not there, the epidermis, when it's not there, the body cannot suffer any form of burn. Today, those who specialize in the knowledge and study of dermatology, they have affirmed this landmark remark of the Quran. And the landmark remark was made at a time there was nothing like science, nor scientists. Again, Muslims know what others don't know. We want to crystallize conviction of adopting Thomas's that Islam is indeed the way, and to assure Muslims that don't veer off Islam. These assurances are very, very important. In the Quran chapter 2, verse 260, Allah gave Prophet Ibrahim opportunity for a dialogic encounter with him, and he has a question. Ardini kaifatu ilimota. Oh my Lord, show me, prove to me how you do resurrect the dead. And Allah says therein, awalam tumin, can you be said to be faithless? And the prophet of Abraham said, Balla walakin liyatima ina qalbi. I want to crystallize my conviction. So we need to crystallize conviction of Muslim, because many Muslims today are being incentivized to change faith, particularly in Nigeria here, where everything relating to religion and the practice of religion have been politicized. So we are discussing this to firm up the faith of Muslims. Those of us who are convinced that Islam is the way to enhance our belief and to attract non-Muslims via the instrumentality of empirical facts. Quran chapter 23, verse 12 to 14. This is talking about a chronicles, respective phases of human creation, starting from a sexual intercourse between male and female. And this is what is known as embryology. A notable, popular embryologist in the world, Professor Keith Moore from Canada, accepted Islam. He had already authored the book wherein he discussed embryology. By the time he was made to know this particular verse, he altered some of the information contained in his book, and there and then he became a Muslim. Again, so many things prove that Muslims know what others don't know. For example, how do you imagine this particular topic? Fasting. When Allah is talking of fasting in the Quran chapter 2, verse 185, Allah says, Yuridu lahu bikum liyusra, wala yuridu bikum liusra. Allah does not, via the instrumentality of a fasting, He does not want to impose any punishment on you. When you now consider the excruciating pang of hunger and a lot of self-denial associated with fasting, will you not see this kind of statement? Allah does not design fasting as any form of punishment. Will you not see it curiously? Whereas today, what is said in the Quran has been upheld by medical scientists. They now discover that if you want to stay healthy, you should fast advisably twice in a week. Even in the Bible, the book of Luke chapter 18, verse 12, it is recommended that fasting 2 times in a week is very, very important. Anybody who wants to stay off sickness it's advised to fast from time to time, because when you overeat, when you continue to eat from time to time, you have a digestive problem and some other problems too. Again, talking the line along the line of Muslims know what others don't know. We have another verse of the Quran, that is Quran chapter 5, verse 3. Allah says, you should not, as Muslim, you must not consume anything like a pork. Today, scientists have discovered that of all animals, pork store the highest number of microbes. And still that verse of the Quran, along with Quran chapter 2, verse 173, Allah abhors consumption of blood. And today, scientists will tell you that blood is very, very injurious. And that is why when Muslims, when we want to slaughter animal, see the way we slaughter the animal, so that blood will, to ensure that the blood constituent in the animal gets out through the slaughtering. Again, when we are talking along the line of Muslims know what others don't know. There is this verse of the Quran, Quran chapter 6, verse 38. Allah says, indication that animals on board are special communities like human beings. So they are fellow creatures. And this is why we have to treat them in a humane manner. Those who say that they are animals lovers, we have discovered they are even animal eaters. In Nigeria, we have a lion fighting competition, which is not part of the teachings of Islam. When you are talking of a human right, animal right is also there in Islam. This is established through this verse of the Quran. Even to show that Muslims know what others don't know. We don't need to be taught how to relate with animals. If you are offended by any animal, for example, if you have your food and they just one goat or ram snatches your food and they consume the whole thing, honestly, you will suffer explosive emotion. Despite the explosive emotion, if the animal is pregnant, you must not beat that particular animal. Even when you have to beat the animal, like you do to human being, you must not beat the animal on the face. Again, there are cases of two people. One ended up in paradise. The other one ended up in hell through instrumentality of how they treated the animals. There was a person who was keeping a cat and he was keeping the cat as a pet, did not even allow the cat to go out in search of food. And the cat died in the process. And that person became an inmate of hell. Again, a counter narrative is somebody a prostitute, who was just moving around and saw a dog feeling thirsty. The thirsty dog could not find any water around, and this dog was staying near a well, but there was no way the dog could draw water from the well. The prostitute tied a rope to her shoe and was drawing water consistently and giving it to the dog until the dog became manifestly satisfied. And what was her reward? She became inmate of paradise. When you are talking along the line of Islam, if the Muslims knowing what others don't know, there are so many things. And as Muslims, we should use this as basis for preaching Islam. Today, the battles of the Muslims is that wrong people are involved in propagation of Islam. I always use this analogy. If you want to be selling close-up is used for cleaning and whitening the teeth. And somebody is going to be the advertiser is somebody whose teeth are very, very dirty. And the person is not even diplomatic. By the time he's doing the advertisement, he's even exposing the teeth, the dirty teeth. Honestly, he won't say. People who are propagating Islam, championing the propagation of Islam, particularly in Nigeria here, many of them, they are bad. And those of us who are Muslim, we should base our preaching of Islam on empirical fact, using some of these analysis. Muslims know what others don't know. I should mention this. Islam, whether anybody likes it or not, Islam will continue to grow from strength to strength, whether anybody likes it or not. That is the reality today. Now, Islamophobia is rife here and yonder. And just recently, I came across a post on one of the platforms I belong to, and it was a Christian pastor. The Christian pastor is now doing the elucidation of Genesis chapter 17, verse 20. Genesis chapter 17, verse 20 is giving us a rundown of the blessings accruable to the first child of Abraham, Isaac. He said, I will multiply you exceedingly. And this pastor said, growth of Islam, based on that biblical reference, he said, growth of Islam is a prophecy. Nothing that Christians can do about it. God declared that Ismail will be great. Abraham went into bargain with God concerning his son, Ismail. We can't fight the statistics. Our God conferred growth on them. The growth of Islam is the hand of God. Today, whether anybody likes it or not, Islam will continue to grow from strength to strength. Are there brothers and sisters, listeners here and yonder? I think this is a convenient point to draw the curtain. The discussion has been, Muslims know what others don't know. I pray that Allah, who has made us Muslims, will enable us to remain within the fold of Islam without evaporating from the confine of Islam to condense elsewhere. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Jazakumullahu khairan.
Adúpẹ́ púpọ̀ ní ọwọ́ àwọn bàbá wa, kí Ọlọ́run kó bá san yín lẹ́san dáadáa. Òun náà ni gbogbo wa ti gbọ́ yìí, gba gbogbo àwọn àlàyé tí wọ́n mú wá fún wa ní ẹ̀kúnrẹ́rẹ́. Tí a bá ní ìbéèrè lórí àwọn nǹkan tí wọ́n sọ fún àyè tó rú wa lójú, níbi ìṣẹ́jú mélòó láti dáhùn ìbéèrè náà. Tí olóńgbà tí à ń tó de ìbéèrè, inshallah, ìgbà text ẹ̀ sójú kínní ọ̀kẹ́ send ẹ̀ sí wa. Ìdáhùn bẹ́ẹ̀ bá gbé wá, gbogbo ẹ̀ náà ni a jẹ́ kí wọ́n bá wa dáhùn pẹ̀lú ògo Ọlọ́run Ọba. Okay. Àwọn chairman BOT wa ni wọ́n kí yín yẹn. Ìyá àdínì, àwọn náà kí yín yẹn.
Awalekun. Ẹ ṣeun wa kú jẹ́ mọ́ta. A kó situation tí ò lè yá wa physical.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. So ìgbà náà ni wọ́n kí yín pé wọ́n dúpẹ́ púpọ̀. So nítorí àsìkò aago 11 ni ó ti kọjá ní ọ̀dọ̀ wa. Àwọn èèyàn sì ti wà ní mọ́sálásí látàgò 5 rọ̀lẹ́. So I think a lot of people, they need to go back home so that they can be ready for tomorrow, Monday, inshallah. So ní orúkọ àwọn bàbá wa torí àsìkò, ní orúkọ àwọn bàbá wa Imam àgbà àti gbogbo àwọn elétò, lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí àtúnkí yín pé ẹ ṣé ẹ kú ohun. Ọlọ́run Elédùmarè á tún bá wà pẹ̀lú yín, á sì àlékún àlàáfíà, kò ní rẹ̀ yín o. Ọlọ́run ò ní jẹ́ kó rẹ̀ yín, à ń gbádùn yín, gbogbo ayé tí ń gbádùn yín, àìlérí ń gbádùn mọ́, ọlọ́mọ fi ṣàdánwò. So gbogbo wa tá bá ti pè yín lẹ́nu kan náà ni ó ti yá náà nìyẹn. Iṣẹ́ Ọlọ́run tí ẹ̀ ń dá lóhùn, Ọlọ́run dákun lẹ́tà pé mi ò rán yín níṣẹ́, ọlọ́mọ fi lé yín lọ́wọ́. Wọ́n dẹ̀ fi lẹ́nu kọ̀ọ̀kan wa náà lọ́wọ́. Ọlọ́run àlùbáríkà wọn ni a kí gbogbo ọmọ ìyá wa aláwẹ̀ inú oṣù tí a wà yìí. So kí Ọlọ́run kí ó wà pẹ̀lú wa. So ní ànígbà wa lásìkò àmọ́ yọ̀ǹda àwọn bàbá wa Dr. Dawood Amao alága pẹ̀lú ògbó Ọlọ́run bó bá tún dẹ̀ míì tàbá tún wà lórí irú ètò yìí, Ọlọ́run jà tún rí yín pé ẹ̀yin là á mọ dé bá àwa náà. Ọlọ́run jẹ́ gbogbo akámọ̀ wà dáadáa, kọ́lọ́run jẹ́ ká fi dáadáa pàdé inshallah bi qurratillah. Adúpẹ́ púpọ̀ o, jazakumullahu khairan jasa.
Wàyáàkùn, Ọlọ́run wà pẹ̀lú wa o, aṣọpọ̀ ọdún.
Àmín ya Allah. So alhamdulillah, so ètò náà ni a ti gbọ́ yìí, gbogbo ẹ̀yin ọmọ ìyá nínú ẹ̀sìn. Ọlọ́run kó ṣe dáadáa fún gbogbo wa, Ọlọ́run kó wà pẹ̀lú wa. So inshallah bi qurratillah, eléyìí ni ó máa jẹ́ òpin for the weekend tí a parí yìí, Friday, Saturday, Sunday tó tán yìí. Pẹ̀lú ògo Ọlọ́run a tún máa pàdé níjọ́ Jímọ̀ àtijọ́ Sátidé fún méjì tó kù tí a fi parí ààwẹ̀ ní ọdún yìí. Gbogbo eléyìí tí a ti gbọ́ látẹ̀yìn wa àtẹlé tí wọ́n sọ fún wa yìí, Ọlọ́run ṣe ní ìbàlẹ́jọ́ bú fún wa, Ọlọ́run jẹ́ kó wúlò fún wa, àtẹ̀yìn àtẹ̀mí, Ọlọ́run jẹ́ abá nínú iṣẹ́ olóore wa. Ọba tí ń sẹ̀dá lẹ́san, ọ̀sà san wa lẹ́san dáadáa. Kí a tó máa lọ, wọn kún wọn sì sọ fún wa ní mọ́sálásí wọn tó ń sọ káàkiri náà the last 10 days náà ló fẹ́ parí yìí kó kálukú wa náà ká gbìyànjú ká sojú kòkòrò ògùn tó ń lè balẹ̀ ní kí a rí ń bẹ̀ ọlọ́mọdún wa ní ládẹ́ ọlálùbáríkà àwọn ẹni rẹ̀ so àdúpẹ́ púpọ̀ for opportunity tẹ fún wa láti mọ darí ètò náà láti mọ moderate ètò náà ọlọ́mọsàbà sẹ́ni kọ̀ọ̀kan yín náà ní ẹ̀san rí o so ní àìnígbà wa lásìkò a tún mọ pàdé ní ọjọ́ Jímọ̀ ọba tó lẹ̀mí kó mọ̀ gbà kó fún wa ní àlékún ẹ̀mí kó fún wa ní àlékún àlàáfíà kọ́lọ́n kó wà pẹ̀lú wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.